Hey guys, what's up? I apologize. I'm a little bit late with this, late on the weekend. It's Sunday, midday here on West Coast time. I'm giving you guys, actually not me, Eric Holmes is giving you a very quick spoiler on the end of The Passenger. The Passenger stars Kyle Gallner and Johnny Birchtold. It is currently available on DVD and on digital and on demand. We reviewed it this week, actually last week on CinemAddicts. All three of us gave it 5 stars. We all really love The Passenger. I will leave a Amazon link where you can rent or purchase it on Amazon. The crew at CinemAddicts will receive a purchase. Now, if you decide to actually buy it, buy the actual movie for $14.99, I suggest you don't buy it on Amazon because last time I checked, it doesn't have a special feature on it. It's just a movie. But I'm eventually, when I have enough money, when I'm actually going to save up my scraps, I'm going to purchase it on Vudu. And I believe Vudu has a special featurette with The Passenger. Now, I'll get to the spoiler section in a second, so right now you can continue to listen to this without any spoiler stuff on The Passenger. But the movie centers on, if you haven't heard our review, it centers on just this really meek little guy, this teenager, I think he's around 17, 18, played by Johnny Birchtold, and I believe his name is Randy Bradley or something. He's working at a fast food place, and something bad happens at the fast food place. He's being bullied by a coworker. His boss is just a really irresponsible guy too. There's a lot of things that happen in the fast food place. The problem is, or maybe the good thing is, it's Kyle Gallner plays his coworker, and Gallner, you might know him from Dinner in America and a couple of other movies along the way. Most recently, Mother May I. Kyle Gallner plays a coworker who commits a very violent series of acts in the fast food restaurant, and where they both work, and he basically takes the kid hostage, the teenager hostage, and they go on a road trip. And the kid is the titular character. He is the passenger. The driver in the story is Kyle Gallner. And obviously, after that violent act in that fast food place, they're on the run from the authorities. The teen is obviously traumatized by what's happening because he's wondering if he's going to be killed by Gallner's character as well, by the driver. But you'll see it's a different kind of movie. It's violent in the first act, and it's violent a couple of other scenes in the movie, but it's more of a character development type of film, and I really enjoyed The Passenger. And yeah, I definitely, whether it's, I don't know, actually I'm going to purchase it right now, actually on Vudu, because I just really want it on my digital collection, and eventually when it hits physical media on Blu-ray, I'm going to double buy it as well. So this is how much I am a huge fan of The Passenger. If you love B-movie thrillers with a little bit of just depth to it, the acting is great, the visual compositions are top notch. This is, I would find it, and don't even use our links. Whatever you can do, just see if you can muster enough cash to rent or purchase it in whatever digital platform you use, or if you want to save a little bit of money, just wait till it hits maybe streaming. I believe it hits MGM Plus later this year. Okay, remember, so that is The Passenger, directed by Carter Smitb. So Eric Holmes interviewed Carter Smitb, and he asked him about the ending, and they don't really get into the spoilers. It's only about a minute and a half of just he and Eric talking, and it's just a question that Eric Holmes has pertaining to the end of The Passenger. So I'm going to get into the spoilers right now. So just, you can stop the video and use The Passenger as, just remember, mark it down on your archive and know under your CinemAddicts Patreon feed, you have an exclusive spoiler-rific talk with Carter Smitb and just the ending of The Passenger here, exclusive to Patreon, okay? So I'm going to talk about the ending in 3, 2, 1. So very quickly, he takes the kid. I'm going to say the driver is Kyle Gallner, the passenger is Johnny Birchtold. So essentially what happens is the driver takes the passenger on this road trip, and you realize right from the get-go that he's not going to kill the kid. He just wants the kid to start taking accountability, to become more assertive in his life, and to achieve his goals. And it's really weird because he's trying to improve the kid, but just seconds ago, before they got in the car, he murdered everyone in the restaurant except for the kid. So the kid is obviously in trauma. The kid has a huge trauma from when he was a kid, because you understand later in the game, later in The Passenger, the teenager, when he was a child, I think it was maybe in first or second grade, he really liked this teacher. This female teacher was really great, but one time I think she told him to stop doing something, and he was being very he had a moment of rebellion, and he threw, I think, some kind of eraser at her, and I think it was an eraser if I recall. But whatever happens, he threw a projectile at her, and it hit her in the eye. And what happened? I think it was a piece of either chalkboard or chalk. He threw maybe chalk at her, and what happens is, even though it hit her in the eye, it doesn't seem like it's a kid throwing that thing at the eye. Maybe it would just cause like a little bit of just uncomfortable feeling for about a minute or two. But there was lead in whatever projectile he threw, and that lead poisoned that woman's eye, and then for the rest of her life she has to wear an eye patch. So what happens is, you get to actually understand that this two-hander becomes a three-hander in the third act, where the driver and the passenger, they meet the passenger's former teacher, so the passenger can finally make amends with the teacher, and they do. But the problem is, the driver takes the teacher along with them finally on the road trip, and you're worried for the safety of the teacher, you're worried about the safety for the teen, and the final act ends up in a diner where they traversed before. It's a diner, and finally the passenger decides to take some action, and while he goes to the bathroom, he dials 911, and he ultimately informs the police, calls 911 and saying there is a shooting, soon to be shooting in the diner. So he hides that and obviously it's a very courageous act by the passenger, because the driver is a crazy person. So what happens is, at the end, there is a little bit of a shootout in the diner very quickly, and the driver accidentally shoots the passenger, because the passenger is trying to, I believe, protect either the teacher or one of the bystanders, and he gets shot in the shoulder, and the driver, Gallner's character, is just shocked that he shot his friend, so he's trying to make sure his friend's okay. There's a waitress who gets shot by Gallner as well in the leg. So there's a couple of people in the diner who are shot and bleeding. But what happens is, ultimately you hear the sirens, and the passenger, again Johnny Birchtold, tells Gallner that, hey, I'm the one who made the call. Just listen, out there is the authorities, not so many words, they're out there to arrest you. And you're wondering, is he going to kill Birchtold now because Birchtold ratted him out? No. What Gallner does is he ultimately commits suicide by pretending to attack the cops, accost the cops, and he goes outside and he gets shot dead. Okay, Gallner's character gets shot dead. And it leads into Eric's question about, was the ending of The Passenger always going to be death by cop? Okay, because a police officer shot Gallner at the end. Gallner is dead. Now, what I find really cool about The Passenger is the perverse notion that the passenger, Johnny Birchtold's character, his life is changed actually from the better via this trauma. If those people were not killed in the fast food restaurant, who knows if Birchtold's character would have stayed in that level of trauma. He's been haunted by that accident when he threw that projectile at the teacher. He's been haunted by that incident since he was a kid. So that's why he's actually let his life pass by, and he's very meek. And because of this incident, this tragic incident with Gallner, he ends up building a bond with the teacher at the end, and he becomes the babysitter of her daughter, and he looks at the end a little bit more stable than before, and a little bit more healed. So it's one of these things of The Passenger where the theme is sometimes a positive thing can come out of absolute trauma, and that is something, especially when people are killed, die, and that's part of the trauma, that's something that we as human beings, I'm assuming, do not want to face, that something actually good can come out of the bad. So that's what I really loved about The Passenger. It's like, yeah, if Gallner's character did not kill those people at that restaurant, he would never have bonded with Birchtold. He would have never taken Birchtold on that road trip, and he would have never given him those life lessons. Ultimately, who knows, if that incident never happened, maybe everything would have gone their merry way, and they would have just clocked in and out at the fast food place, and Gallner would have never killed those people. And the main character, Berchtold, would have just stayed haunted by the past and just continue on his merry way with the job. So it needs this inciting incident ultimately changes both of their lives. Obviously, Gallner's character for the worse, and the passenger's character by Johnny Berchtold for the better. Great movie. So, anyways, here is Eric's. It's like a minute and a half. Okay, it's a minute and a half. Just a quick question on the ending of The Passenger. Hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys see The Passenger, would love to hear what you actually think of this movie, okay? So I know Peter Beta, fellow Patreon member and from Middle Class Film Class, he really loves this as well. So that's at least 4 people who really enjoyed The Passenger. Would love to hear some opinions if you guys see this movie. All right, guys, take care. And here's Eric Holmes' quick talk with Carter at the end of the interview. All right, bye.
Cool. Now, real quick for the spoiler question. Yes, let's get into the ending. Death by cop. Was that always the ending, or did you have was there other ways that this was going to end bandied about?
I think that it was always a version of that. Like, I think that there were a couple of because at the end of the day, Randy stands up to him and makes the call and turns him in and kind of does the right thing. So it was always. I think it was always from the very first draft. I mean, we tweaked the how it happens and how the build happens, as we were going into production. But I think that was always the end of the how the script ended.
Yeah, I also really like the whole idea of something bad happens in your life, and you can always glean something good out of it. No matter, and like in this case, it's absolutely horrifying. I wouldn't wish that on anyone, but it happened. And he was able to pull something good from it.
Yeah, or offer something good to Randy, as a result of it, like in a way that wouldn't have, he wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise. They would have gone on working at this job and sort of never realizing that they, had this kind of friendship that was possible.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you much, Carter. And
thank you.
This was a really fantastic movie, and I hope everyone sees it. I hope it does well. And
congratulations. Yeah, thanks for helping to spread the word.